Welcome back. Hope you had a great week. So last week we kind of were expecting, a little bit of a bullish bend before we kind of pull back. So I mean, the market, if you go to the weekly time frame, you'll be able to see that we pretty much finished where we started last week. So even though we did have a little bit of a higher move, it didn't really do much. And we kind of, you can see that looks like we put in a shooting star. So depending on how we kind of open up today, it will kind of determine whether we kind of make a bearish engulfing that goes lower or whether, we continue to digest and move sideways.
This short clip is presented by Community. Fast track your learning curve and profit with our Leduc Trading Discord community. It is ideal for beginners who love the chase. Community provides access to not only Samantha's daily market thoughts and chase trades, but also her fabulous team of live stage mentors who share their actual trades and risk management stops across equities, options, and futures. You also get access to custom trade support when you need it. For more information, visit www.leductrading.com/community.
So in the market, let's say we go to the 4-hour time frame, we'll be able to see that we pretty much bounced off the bottom of this channel. And you can see that this pretty much, again, you can count 5 waves, right? 3, 4, 5. So we are kind of looking for a pullback more on the intermediate time frame as well. We go to the daily chart on SPX, you can see that although we broke above, this was a big, failure and break lower. And we still have a gap lower to fill at 5-1. You can see we have a gap lower to fill here at 5-1-0-6. And obviously we do have the bottom of the channel at 5-0-7-7. So for either of these two paths that I have highlighted happen, we would again need to break below the important or bearish trigger before you can kind of start to get, more cautious is 5070 to 5065. If we, manage to stay over 5065, we could just kind of consolidate sideways, like this. And you can see here, if I zoom out, you'll be able to see that that's the 2.618 fib. So it is possible to go sideways before it pushes higher and goes down like this as well. That's, something that is possible. But if we do end up triggering this 5070 area that I have highlighted, you can see that I have two paths, right? Let me remove this. You can see I have two paths. One is, I zoom out, you'll be able to see that one is, I'm assuming that, we still have not put in a major 3-wave, which means that that would be this white path I have highlighted here. So I do think that, again, we will kind of at least pull back to this 4900 area, kind of go sideways for a couple of weeks before we kind of go higher for that 5th wave. And I think this would align more with, how elections are going on versus on the assumption that, we go sideways, have a quick, push higher before we break down, or we have the immediate breakdown down to this 4200. In both cases, I do think we will have that pullback, right? It's just a matter of, like, does it happen, a month before elections, or does it happen after elections? So those are kind of the two highlighted paths. Obviously, we'll just, kind of follow level to level before we have to make that assumption. Obviously, as I mentioned, right, this blue channel has been support since the start of the year. So unless we break 5070, there won't be serious selling. We could very likely go sideways before we continue up. So 5070 is the important trigger. And we can also look at the wicks for clues. You can see that we didn't end up, breaking down. We actually, kind of held this $13 level, and we're kind of trying to make that higher low blast off. You can see here, if I fib it, we pretty much bounced off the 618 zone. So to continue, obviously this morning you can see that this level here has acted as supply and us opening, right? And also you can see this is okay, if I inverse it, here you go. You can see here, this is also where it bounced off, right? The 618 fib. And you can see here this morning, we are opening against the 380 to fib, which again is nothing but the inverse 618. So again, as long as Wick stays over 15.3, that is market bullish, and it will continue to just have that push higher, which means, bears are gonna come have a little bit to eat for the next week or so. So it will look like that. However, if Wix fails to, stay over that 15.2, it's very likely gonna follow this yellow path that I've marked here. So that's why the 15.2 level is super important on the Wix, and even the dollar. You can see that we rejected and we sold off as we were suspecting last week. You can see that we have come down to the 0.5 fib and we're holding. So again, dollar also likely give into some clues. So you can see here, this is a level of support here at 102.7. If it breaks that, then we don't really have support till 101.03, which would, again, is bullish equities, right? But if it starts to get supported here, it could, very likely have that, oversold bounce higher at least. So yeah, keep an eye on the dollar. A break of this will likely come down. This is an important level to watch as well. We look at the 10-year as well, and we can see that we pretty much have not rejected this and are following the red path. But again, you can see here that as long as this level is a demand zone, right? As long as we, try to hold above this region, we could still bounce on the yields. If you start to break this, then it's very likely we break this low. So again, same as the wicks, right? The yields are kind of at a very important, suspect level in the market. All right, with that being said, let's look at this week's watch list. The first one I have is Netflix. And again, the reason for that is I do think Netflix is extended. I haven't actually looked at the RSI, but you can see here, it's as I suspected that we're very likely going to have the bearish divergence. So it is due for a sell-off, and it is pretty extended in the market. And even if I were to fib, you can see here that we pretty much are close to the 618 or are about to reject it. So that's the reason I have Netflix puts. We break below 605, 600 on Netflix, we should be able to come down to 580. And it has multiple gaps, right? 580, 572, has a gap here at 560. It's also, top of the channel, bottom of the channel. So Netflix starts to break, 605, 600. It could make a very nice short. So the next one I have for this week is XLE. Again, the reason for that is you can see here we are, holding over this resistance level, right? We pull back, opening bullish. So we can stay over this 87.5 area. I think we can push into 89, and you can see it does have a gap to fill at 90. So it is looking good as long as we hold over 87.5 on XLE. So the next one I have is SMCI. So the reason for that is it's not really sold off compared to its peers, at least on the lower time frame. And again, you can kind of see that this also looks like an ABC. So it again come down at the very least into this 950, 900, 850 zone. So that's the reason I have SMCI puts. If I go to 4R on AMD and NVIDIA, you'll be able to see that they've had a much more extended sell-off versus on SMCI. Looking a little more feeble, so I don't think it gets over 1250. It's probably the max it goes to. Like maybe it could do something like this before it comes down, but yeah, bigger picture, at least in this time frame, it is starting to look very suspect to the downside. All right, last but not the least, Mara. Again, it's kind of looking a little weak compared to like MSTR and coin. So I do think that as long as, Mara holds over 22, right? As long as we can stay over this 22 level, I do think that, we could go up to test, right? I do think it could break this high at 34 and go into 35 if, we stay over this 22 level. Again, you look at coin and you look at MSTR, they both are firmly pushing, their third wave extensions versus if you look at Mara, you can see that it's relatively more here. And I go to MSTR, you can see that Mara, looks somewhere to be here. So, I mean, necessarily doesn't have to do it, but a lot of the times proxies do tend to follow each other. So yeah, you can keep an eye on Mara or Riot for laggards in Bitcoin. But yeah, coin and MSTR are getting extended, so careful there. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Subscribe to Leduc Trading YouTube channel for more Wolf's weekly Wavelist videos and other content.